Tulgey Wood. Curious. I don't remember this.
Tulgey Wood has very little dialogue, but it is rich in symbolism. I believe Disney has used Tulgey Wood to be our guide for how to learn to walk to the beat of our own drum after we have left the Queen's Court, or the rat race. When Alice goes deep into the woods, the first place she stops is Tulgey Wood. The intro to Tulgey Wood is very rich in symbolism. Glasses often refer to the ability to see or to enhance one's sight, to gain vision, so on and so forth. But she also runs into her own reflection. She's wearing the glasses and she sees herself. This is fantastic symbolism that literally points us to the fact that Tulgey Wood is how to see ourselves, or our reflection, in the dark. Alice makes a statement before entering Tulgey Wood that
I'm going home. Straight home.
But home isn't always just a house in the woods that we live in. Home is also something that we can find instinctually. It is these little things that we are naturally drawn to, and we just can't explain why, but they resonate with our soul. Tulgey Wood, being a guide for how to leave the rat race, starts off remarkably well. Alice believes she has found the way home, but unfortunately, she steps on a hornbilled duck, and the mother is quite irate with her. It points that we can't go back the way we came. And so Disney, being the visual genius he is, pans to the opposite side. And it is, of course, a drum toad and a cymbal frog. It's how to walk to the beat of your own drum and how to follow the cymbals. In a more in-depth look at symbolism, Disney then takes us to a deep well where the vulture umbrellas are bathing, and Alice accidentally disturbs them by trying to ask them a question. According to Manly Hall, buzzards often represented cruelty. The vultures were at first occupying a deep dug pond or a water supply located on a lower level than Alice. When Alice realizes she doesn't want the help from the buzzards, she much turns away from them, which is an echo of how she turned away from the hornbill mother duck. And since Disney panned to how to walk to our beat of her own drum, it only makes sense that Alice would say,
Oh dear, it's getting dreadfully dark. And nothing looks familiar.
And then the first creature that she encounters is the spade-billed duck. Because spades in occult symbolism often represent wisdom, intelligence, and obtaining higher knowledge from our everyday trials and tribulations. So what is this spade-billed digging up? Well, oftentimes in ancient symbolism, digging is usually representative of going back over lost details. How to destroy something completely by digging up its deep roots. It's going over things from the past or uncovering truths that may have been glanced over. Digging is also heavily associated with the start of creating a well. A well as in the nourishment of life, spiritual nourishment. And it is the effort and determination to reach life-giving waters. This is going to kind of come in when we talk about the mome raths. Overall, digging is generally regarded as the process of uncovering something valuable that's hidden beneath the surface. This digging, Disney is hinting at finding something that is simple trials and tribulations that our soul resonates with. After observing the spade bill, Alice moves on. And she moves on to the birds in the bird cage? Bird cage? But what she says also ties heavily into the visuals that Disney provides. Alice says,
I shall certainly be glad to get out of... Oh!
A bird cage can have two meanings. An empty bird cage represents freedom. A full bird cage represents some sort of confinement or imprisonment. Please note that the birds start sleeping. And considering we're talking about confinement and imprisonment and things that are hidden beneath, these birds are not awake. Alice, in her journey, she bumps them. And then they go free. They leave their cage, and then when the bird catches them, the two birds that are now awake sing in a fantastic harmony. This is kind of indicative of two symbols: starting your journey asleep and unaware, and by the end, you've awakened your birds, you've awakened your spirit, and you sing a harmonious tune, or you go to the beat of your own drum. On the subject of birds, Manly Hall writes, gravitation, which is a law in the material world, is the impulse toward the center of materiality. Levitation, which is a law in the spiritual world, is the impulse toward the center of spirituality. Seeming to be capable of neutralizing the effect of gravity, the bird was said to partake of a nature superior to the other terrestrial creation, and its feathers, because of their sustaining power, came to be accepted as symbols of divinity, courage, and accomplishment. So the last bird that Alice encounters is the owl. And the owl swoops overhead saying, which is kind of a nod to being able to recognize yourself in the dark. When things aren't in the light, you have to go by instinct. It is finding these things underground and in the dark that really tell us who we are. Also in Tulgey Wood, Alice comes across the mome raths. Now let's take a look at this, because the word mome means fool. But when we look at occult meaning, fool means somebody that is optimistic for the journey ahead. There are no obstacles, just puzzles to be solved. You know, they have a youthful optimism to them. The word rath is an old Irish earthen stronghold and home of a chief or a person in charge. Now, if we combine the essence of the fool and its forever optimism and there being no obstacles and just puzzles to be solved, and we pair it with a rath, which seems to be an earthen stronghold, it actually kind of reminds me of a well when I discovered these two. Just like how the spadebill was telling us to dig up, the thing that the vultures used to occupy, but Disney encourages us to dig up our own two birds, our own spirit, and go with that. It is by following these mome raths that we can find our path. Disney also hints at this by what the spadebill was doing. The spadebill was taking it one hole at a time, and this is how we find our way in the dark when we are walking to the beat of our own drum. These little hints, these little things that are so easy to step on and look over, are actually the things that give us night vision. It kind of reminds me of how Hansel and Gretel left the breadcrumbs to navigate their way in the woods. These mome raths, these little things that are easy to overlook and step on, are Disney's way of leaving us clues for where to start and how to discern our path in the dark and make our way home.
I'm going home. Straight home. That rabbit. Who cares where he's going anyway?